This is another question from that post that was put up in my group. This one's from Marty Marr. Nothing intended for or meant for any illegal purposes. Same train of thought. All in the past, all history. This question is how did dogmen of the past raise pups to prepare them for the future? Now, there's all kinds of different ways. Uh, if you network with people, the old guys, you get a chance to talk to them, they'll tell you. So, what I can do is give you my method, and I'll include some of what I observed also. From a young age, I taught them whatever it was I could teach them to prepare them because I was involved in the competition side of it, was to involve them in that. Right? Now, if I had dogs today, I would raise them the same way, except I wouldn't raise them for that. So what I mean by the same way is interact with them and bond with them from when they're small. That's why I didn't have a big yard. So I could spend as much time as I could with each individual dog and prepare them in case they made the grade. If they didn't, you still have a dog that's manageable and good with children, good with people, a good worker with, good work ethic and not stupid. I don't like dumb dogs. Especially Angie don't like them either. She just can't tolerate them, or she couldn't back in the day. We don't have dogs now, but she was just that way. So from the time they're weaned, we put them out amongst the adult dogs, so they could pick up on them and be around them and act a certain way because they would mimic the older dogs. So we had little puppy chains, small. I don't remember what it was, 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch, whatever it was. I don't know. It was a small chain with the same house, So they were big enough to get in the house and out of the house. The chain wasn't too heavy, and it's still a chain, but they could get around. Same length, just like the other dogs. They would mimic them. So, I'm also teaching them little things on how to work. So if I took, let's say, a 4 or 5 or 6-month-old pup out riding on the bike, he's already seen me condition other dogs, so he's going to take to it right away. So I'm going to take them for a little bit. If I put them on a treadmill starting when doesn't matter if they're 8 weeks old, 10 weeks old, whatever. I'm going to put them on a treadmill, teach them how to run it, walk it, whatever. Just for a minute or two. It's just teaching them. I'm not exercising them. I'm not working them. I'm not putting them to keep. It's just to get them used to that. Same thing with the flirt pole, tug of war. If I'm using a spring pole, or even take them swimming sometimes, go out. We'll just take the pups wherever we go. Sometimes we have a kennel inside the vehicle and have all the pups in a 4 or 5 pups there, and we take the kids and go out by the lake or go out to the mountains or whatever. You take the pups, you run them around and keep your eye on them. If they're real small, they run around for a little bit and then they lay down, they get tired, and you just put them up. But part of that was to bond with them, get them used to outside influences, get them used to riding in a vehicle. Some never take to it. Some will do this type of work and they won't do that type of work, and they like this and they don't like that. So you find all this out as you're raising them. I put them on the feed. I really didn't use like a puppy food. We supplemented the puppy's food. Like sometimes I would make porridge, take scraps or whatever, or even cereal, like baby cereal or whatever. And then mix it up, put it in a blender, and, when they're young, or even mix that with the kibble. So the kibble I was using for the adult dogs, that's what I would give to the pups. But I supplement them because they're growing, so they need a little bit more calcium, a little bit more iron, maybe, like that. And that's basically the way we raised them, right? And kids are great with pups. We let them bring them inside and go here and go there. Across the street was a big old field. We had fields all around us, and it was never a problem for the kids to be out in the field. They didn't mess with the crops or anything. They're just almond orchards. In the off season, when they're not producing or harvesting, and there's not a lot of irrigation and all that, in the fall and winter, there's nobody out there really. So you can take them out and run them around, depending on how old the pups are, when they were born, and like that. But even in the spring and summer, the only time you have to worry about anybody or messing with anything where we live was during harvest, which is a couple of weeks, because they have tractors out there. They're taking the nuts down, fruit and all that stuff. During the year when they're irrigating, where we live, they use drip irrigation. So it's, the guys come by, the field workers come by, they turn it on, check the drips, make sure they're all working properly, and they're really not around. They might go, some, will do some weeding, they do some plowing and stuff like that. Some people don't even weed that much. They cut it down a little bit because, some farmers like, if you have weeds there, it draws the water up to the tree. That's their way of thinking, right? What happens when you water plants, the water is in the ground, it goes down, right? The roots follow the water and they reach for it. That's what makes them grow. So whatever size of the plant is up top the tree, that's the size of the root system underneath. Some guys left the roots there, left the weeds there, grass, they might cut it a little short, but they really didn't eradicate them because the roots cause the water to come up. It draws water, sucks the water up, put it that way. So there's different methods. So the point is, there wasn't a lot of people around when I conditioned dog, when we messed with our pups, when we took them out and about around the house, and then as much as we could, you just treat it as regular dogs. My dad always had dogs. We always had dogs. They always rode in the pickups. I was raised basically on pickups and tractors and ATVs and stuff. But if we had dogs in the pickup, most of the time they were in the back in the bed. If they were in the front, they had to sit on the floor. They couldn't get up on the seat. So that's kind of how we had the dogs. I kind of varied that a little bit, and I would let dogs on the seat. If I had a dog or pup or whatever it was inside the vehicle on the seat and not in a kennel, what I did, what made it nice was, when they included those safety things to put in baby seats and all that, I would just tie the lead to the to that metal thing for the baby seats. So, because I very rarely let the dogs run loose, so they'd have a collar, a lead tied down, so they wouldn't jump out the window. So I've seen dogs do that. They'll jump out the window. They'll get out of the kennel if they could. So they're always kind of tied down. Before that, we'd tie it to the door handle if they were in the back, of a car or whatever, or you just hold on it. You have someone hold the lead. Didn't really let them run loose, and that's why it's better for us. It was better to have them on the floorboard. Couldn't see out too much. They just see you. They're down there where you are. So that's kind of how we did it. But preparing them the way I did was to prepare them to be a competitor. And like I said, some didn't make the grade. No harm, no foul. The dog got good feed, good exercise, learned something, was a good pet. A lot of the dogs were my kids' dogs. They named them. Eventually, I just let them name all of them. That's where those names Bill and Kay and Bambi and Donut and different Percy and Charlie and all that. That's where them names come from. My kids' name, Loki and all kinds of different names. So there was a lot of interaction with them because we lived out in the country. Only had one neighbor. Within probably a half a mile, just one. And dogs were part of the family. Kids were raised on them. Angie interacted with them a lot, took care of them when I was gone. Or if I'm working a dog, you know, they took over. They fed the other ones and like that. So, you know, I use that time when I'm conditioning the dog. What I would do is once I'm out working the dog, you know, the other ones are making all kinds of noise. That's when we would feed them because it settles them down. Now they're quiet, you know, and they knew that. But other than that, that's basically what I did with my pups. You can figure out different things to do, you know. Sometimes I'd have a pup in a particular area and hide some kibble around here or there, and the pup would have to sniff around. He'd find the kibble and he'd eat it, you know. Like I said, play a little bit of tug of war, teach him a flirt pole, even give him stuffed toys to attack and stuff like that, you know. Teach him how to scratch. Me and my son had a game, young dogs and pups, you know. He'd stand over there with a rag or a piece of old Levi's, you know, and I'd have the pup, and he'd shake it, and I'd scratch the pup or the young dog over and over to my son, just doom, doom, scratch, scratch, over and over, just to get him in the tune of scratching like that. So I won't go into too much detail on this, but I just wanted to mention it a little bit. Again, thanks for your support, and thanks for the question, Marty.